Welcome back, everyone. We're diving back into modern Indian history. This is crucial stuff if you're prepping for the UPSC exams, especially for GS1.
And even if you're not taking an exam, this stuff is just fascinating.
Totally. Last time, we explored the British Raj. Today, we're tackling a kingdom that's just as crucial, Hyderabad.
Buckle up. It's a wild ride, power, intrigue, and a dramatic merger with India in 48. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.
Right, let's rewind to 1591. That's when Muhammad Qutb Shah decided to build this awesome new city, Hyderabad.
Made it his capital, too. He was the ruler of the Qutb Shahi dynasty right there in the Deccan.
But hold on, here's where things get interesting. In 1724, along comes Nizam-ul-Mulk.
Also known as Chinkilich Khan. This guy flips the script, establishes the Asaf Jahi dynasty, and boom, becomes the first Nizam of Hyderabad.
And get this, his dynasty held on to power until 1948.
Longer than a lot of empires, that's for sure.
Makes you wonder, what was their secret? How did they navigate all the chaos and stay in control for so long? And beyond the politics, Hyderabad became a cultural hotspot.
Absolutely. We're talking mind-blowing architecture like the Charminar and the Golconda fort. Iconic even today.
Okay, so we have a long-lasting dynasty and a cultural hub that's thriving. But looming in the background, there's a major player we can't ignore, the Mughal Emperor, Aurangzeb. He's got his eyes on the Deccan.
Aurangzeb's ambitions in the south, huge turning point for Hyderabad. This guy was dead set on expanding the Mughal Empire.
And the Deccan, especially with its strategic gem, Hyderabad, was too tempting to resist.
Oh, absolutely. And the legendary Golconda fort, a prize waiting to be conquered. Aurangzeb wasn't playing around. He actually besieged Golconda not once but twice.
In 1686 and again in 87. Talk about persistence.
This fort had a reputation, impenetrable defenses. But Aurangzeb, well, he wasn't one to back down.
This is where things get a bit, well, legendary. Local tales speak of a guy named Abdullah Khan Pamani. The story goes, Aurangzeb bribed him to open the fortress gates in the dead of night.
Oh, wow. Betrayal from within, classic power move.
If we buy into this legend, this is what led to Golconda's downfall, a major turning point in Hyderabad's story.
It's like a plot twist you'd see in a movie.
Secret deals, hidden betrayals adds a whole layer of intrigue, right?
For sure. And zooming out, the fall of Golconda wasn't just about one fort. It symbolizes the beginning of the end for the Mughal Empire.
Right, their grip on power starts to weaken, and regional players like Hyderabad step into the spotlight.
Exactly. The Asaf Jahi dynasty rose from the ashes of that declining Mughal power. And their story, well, it's pretty epic.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
At the center of this rise to power, there's this guy, Qamaruddin, the future Nizam-ul-Mulk. Picture this, a young man known for his military skills, catches the eye of Emperor Aurangzeb himself.
Okay, that's impressive. Sounds like he's destined for greatness.
You got it. He earns the title Chinkilich Khan. Later, under Emperor Farrukh Siyar, he gets another title, Nizam-ul-Mulk Fateh Jung, with tons of responsibilities.
Climbing the ranks, earning those titles. I bet his journey wasn't all smooth sailing, though, right?
You're absolutely right. No hero's journey is without its obstacles. And in this case, the obstacles came in the form of the Sayyid brothers.
Powerful dudes, huh?
Super powerful generals who weren't exactly thrilled about Qamaruddin's growing influence. They hatched a plot, stripped him of his position, and sent him packing to Malwa, basically exiled him.
That's rough. A major setback. So what happened next? Did he just disappear into obscurity?
Nope, not a chance. Fate had other plans. The Sayyid brothers, well, they had their own downfall.
Oh, karma.
You could say that. And guess who steps in to fill that power vacuum?
Qamaruddin?
Bingo. The new emperor, Muhammad Shah, makes him the vizier. Talk about a comeback story.
From exile to one of the most powerful positions in the empire. That's incredible.
This is where Qamaruddin, now known as Asaf Jah, truly solidifies his hold on power. He becomes the ruler of Hyderabad, establishing the Asaf Jahi dynasty. But here's the twist. Even though he was basically independent, running his own show, he never officially declared independence from the Mughals.
Clever strategy.
It was a delicate balancing act, staying formally connected, but enjoying autonomy in practice.
A tightrope walk to secure power. I can see why the UPSC folks would love this period. So much political maneuvering, so much strategy.
Oh yeah, favorite topic for sure. And Nizam-ul-Mulk, during his reign from 1724 to 1748, he was a master of this game. He expertly navigated the power struggles that erupted after Aurangzeb died.
So many factions vying for control.
Exactly. And this savvy maneuvering landed her the position of Mughal Viceroy of the Deccan. Control over 6 Mughal governorates in South India. Talk about a power grab.
Wow, 6 governorates. That's a huge chunk of territory. But governing them, actually maintaining control, that's a whole other challenge, right?
Right. From 1719 to 1722, Nizam-ul-Mulk had his hands full. He had to establish his authority, resolve conflicts, build a foundation for a stable state. It wasn't just about maintaining order, though.
What else did he do?
He went a step further, founded the princely state of Hyderabad, took charge of the administration, the judiciary, both civil and military powers in the Deccan. He became the guy in charge appointing officials, creating laws, maintaining an army, even governing with his own flag and government.
Wow, talk about autonomy. Sounds like he was a ruler who really shaped the destiny of a region.
Absolutely. But like all rulers, his time eventually came to an end. He died in 1748 at the age of 76.
Leaving behind a huge legacy, and I bet a huge power vacuum.
You know it. After his death, things get messy. Power struggles erupt between the British, the French, the Marathas, and of course Nizam-ul-Mulk's own descendant.
A recipe for chaos.
Oh yeah. Guys like Nasir Jung, Muzaffar Jung, Salabat Jung, they all held the title of subheader of the Deccan for periods of time, but none of them were given the title of Asaf Jahi, or formally recognized as Nizams by the Mughal Emperor. The Deccan was a hotbed of rivalry and maneuvering even after Nizam-ul-Mulk was gone.
So much drama. It's amazing how one man's death can trigger such a chain reaction, completely reshaping the political landscape. But even with all this chaos, the Asaf Jahi dynasty somehow managed to hold on.
They did. And their legacy is a story for another time. Next time, we'll dive deeper into the reigns of the later Nizams, the challenges they faced, and how Hyderabad, under their rule, transformed from a powerful kingdom to a princely state within British India.
It's amazing how this dynasty, the Asaf Jahis, they managed to rule for centuries. From the 18th to the 20th centuries, they really saw it all.
Their story is full of crazy wealth, political drama, and a constant struggle to stay relevant as India changed around them.
It's a long period, though. To really understand their impact, we need to break it down. Focus on some of the key Nizams, the hurdles they faced, the decisions they made. It's like piecing together a puzzle, right?
Sure.
Figuring out who held power when and how they navigated the challenges of their time.
Exactly. Let's start with the title, Nizam of Hyderabad itself. It comes from Nizam-ul-Mulk, which means administrator of the realm, a title given to Qamaruddin by the Mughal emperor way back when.
Right, we talked about him last time. But he wasn't officially a Nizam.
Not quite. Asaf Jahi first, who's also known as Mir Qamaruddin Siddiqui, well, he inherited that title. He's considered the real founder of the dynasty back in 1724.
So even though there were powerful figures before him, it was Asaf Jahi first who really solidified the dynasty's grip on power.
He's the one who expertly navigated wars of succession, gained a significant degree of independence from the Mughals, and laid the groundwork for Hyderabad's future. But that independence didn't mean peace and quiet.
Things were never that simple, were they?
Not in this part of the world. In the 18th century, Hyderabad became a vassal state of the Maratha Empire. They were a dominant force in the Deccan, remember?
Right, always vying for control.
Exactly. And the Nizams faced numerous conflicts with them, even losing some territory during this period.
So it was a constant battle to maintain power, a balancing act between different empires with their own agendas.
Exactly. But then, a huge shift happened. The East India Company started rising to power.
The British, changing the game for everyone.
They were. And as they gained more and more control over India, they offered the Nizams a new deal. They could keep ruling their princely state, but as client kings under British protection.
So from being a vassal of the Marathas to becoming a client state of the British, the Nizams really adapted to survive. They were like chameleons, shifting their allegiances to hold on to power.
They were masters of political maneuvering, and they did manage to maintain internal control over Hyderabad all the way until 1948.
That's pretty incredible considering all the upheaval during that time.
It really speaks to their ability to adapt, to make compromises, to prioritize the interests of Hyderabad above all else.
But we can't talk about the Nizams without mentioning their wealth. I mean, the stories are legendary.
Oh, the wealth of the Nizams, especially those who ruled later, was almost mythical.
Diamonds, right, the Golconda mines.
The Golconda mines were a major source of their wealth. They produced some of the most incredible diamonds in the world. Imagine the riches flowing into Hyderabad from those mines. It's no wonder tales of their extravagance spread far and wide.
I've heard about those Golconda diamonds, highly sought after by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating to think about how these precious stones, mined from the earth, contributed to the rise of a kingdom. A real-life treasure story.
Absolutely. And when we talk about wealth, there's one Nizam who stands out, the seventh Nizam, Osman Ali Khan. He was considered the richest man in the world at one point.
His wealth was estimated to be in the billions, even by today's standards. Hard to even fathom that kind of wealth.
It's an incredible amount, especially when you compare it to the challenges the kingdom faced later on.
Right. That contrast is striking. You have unimaginable opulence, but also a kingdom in decline. What events led to this downfall? Was it a sudden collapse or more of a gradual erosion of power?
It was a combination of factors, really, but some events definitely stand out. The Maratha Wars, for example, had a huge impact on Hyderabad's power. Two battles, in particular, were pivotal. The Battle of Polk in 1728 and the Battle of Karda in 1795.
These battles must have been key moments in shaping the relationship between the Nizams and the Marathas, right?
Yeah.
I bet the UPSC examiners love asking about this kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The Battle of Polk showcased the strategic genius of the Maratha Peshwa, Balaji Rao Thirst. He completely outmaneuvered the Nizam's forces, and the victory solidified Maratha authority in the region. It was a clear sign that the old order was changing.
A significant loss for the Nizams, but a big win for the Marathas. It shows how quickly things can shift in the game of power.
One battle can change everything. Then you have the Battle of Karda in 1795. This one was interesting because it marked the final united conflict of the Maratha Empire as a confederacy.
And the Nizams saw an opportunity, right, to reclaim some lost territory and power. A risky move.
It was a gamble, but this time the Marathas emerged victorious again. They defeated the Nizam decisively, forcing him to cede more territory and pay tribute. It was a major blow to the Nizams.
It's incredible how battles fought centuries ago can have such a lasting impact on the course of history. But we can't talk about the decline of Hyderabad without mentioning Operation Polo, right? The event that brought their rule to an end.
Absolutely. Operation Polo in 1948 was the turning point. It marked the end of the Nizam's rule and the integration of Hyderabad into the Indian Union, a crucial moment for both Hyderabad and independent India.
The seventh Nizam, Osman Ali Khan, he was hesitant to join India after independence, wasn't he? Why the reluctance?
Well, it was a complicated situation. The Nizam was a Muslim ruler governing a state with a mostly Hindu population. There were concerns about communal tensions and the future of Hyderabad's autonomy within a newly independent India.
A tough decision, weighing the legacy of his dynasty against the realities of a changing political landscape.
And his hesitation created tension with the Indian government, who saw it as a threat to national unity. It was a clash of visions, a moment of high stakes and uncertainty.
And ultimately, it led to Operation Polo, the military intervention that brought Hyderabad into the Indian Union.
In September 1948, Indian forces launched a swift operation, overwhelming Hyderabad's army and annexing the state. The Nizam's rule came to an end, and Hyderabad's fate was forever intertwined with that of independent India. It was a decisive end to an era.
From the peak of wealth and power to integration with India, the story of the Hyderabad Kingdom is full of twists and turns, reminding us that history isn't a straight line. It's mind-boggling, isn't it? This kingdom, all this wealth and influence, becomes a part of a brand new India.
It really is. That transition, though, had to be a complex one, not just for the Nizams, but for everyone in Hyderabad. It makes you think about legacy, about identity.
Yeah, it's not just about drawing lines on a map. It's about understanding how a place's history shapes its present.
Exactly. Hyderabad had such a unique journey, all the shifting alliances, the blending of cultures. How did that impact this transition? What traces of the Nizam's rule do we still see in Hyderabad today? These are the kinds of questions that keep historians up at night, you know?
And anyone who's fascinated by India's past, really, it's what makes history so captivating. It's not just about memorizing dates, it's about understanding the echoes of the past in our world today.
Couldn't agree more. And when we talk about the Nizam's legacy, there's a lot to unravel. On one hand, they were known for their extravagant lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, those stories are almost legendary. All that wealth, the lavish spending, the diamonds.
It was a world of opulence, palaces decked out with precious stones, overflowing with jewels, a level of extravagance that most people couldn't even imagine. But beyond the bling, the Nizams also left behind a rich cultural and architectural heritage. We've talked about the Charminar and the Golconda Fort, but their influence goes way beyond those structures. They supported literature, art, even shaped Hyderabad's unique cuisine.
So they weren't just about spending their wealth. They were patrons of the arts, contributors to culture.
Exactly. It paints a more complete picture of their rule, doesn't it?
It does. Makes you wonder how the people of Hyderabad viewed their rulers back then. Was it just a tale of the wealthy elite living separate lives? Or was there something more?
That's the question, isn't it? It's easy to get caught up in the grandeur and forget about the everyday lives of ordinary people.
Right, there's always more to the story.
Well, here's where things get even more interesting. The Nizams, especially the later ones, were known for their philanthropy. They actually cared about social welfare.
Really? I didn't know that.
They invested in education, healthcare, infrastructure, things that directly impacted the lives of everyday people.
So they weren't just rulers in some ivory tower. They were actively involved in the development of their state.
That's the thing about history. There are always these different layers to uncover. And it's important to remember, even though joining India meant the end of their political power, the Nizams continued to hold a symbolic significance for many people in Hyderabad.
A sense of nostalgia, maybe?
There's a bit of that, for sure. Even today, people recognize their contribution to the city's identity. It shows that history isn't always a clean break. It's more like a tapestry, with threads of continuity and change interwoven.
A reminder that history isn't just black and white, winners and losers. It's about understanding the complexities, the contradictions. It's about those lasting imprints left by those who came before us.
Well said. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the Hyderabad Kingdom, I want to leave you with a question. What lessons can we learn from the rise and fall of this once powerful kingdom? How can their story, their successes and failures, help us navigate the world we live in today?
That's a great question, one that deserves some serious thought. And for all our listeners, whether you're prepping for the UPSC, a history buff, or just curious about India's past, I encourage you to explore more. Dive into the lives of the Nizams, the architectural marvels they left behind, the cultural tapestry they helped create. There's a whole world waiting to be discovered.
And for those UPSC aspirants out there, remember, Hyderabad's history isn't just a good story, it's a crucial part of understanding how modern India came to be. Connect those dots, see how the past shapes the present.
Absolutely. So to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this journey through the heart of the Hyderabad Kingdom. Hope you found it insightful, engaging, maybe even sparked a desire to learn more. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into India's fascinating history. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those historical wheels turning.